this is going to require that I have the raw data in for the set of coins that I'm going to use. I'm still using coins. This is my fourth set that I got. So I get these rolls of coins. In this case, they're $100 worth of dollar coins. And they're circulated, so they're all mixed up. So as I get them, so you might have heard the sound of coins in the background, I can grab them and put the information in here. So for example, this first one I grabbed is a George Washington dollar, so I'll put in a president as the series. Okay, for the year, it's going to be a 2007. For the mint, that's a little bit more work because the edge is where the mint mark is on this coin, and they get worn pretty quickly. So this one, for example, that's the "In God We Trust" part. Let's see, this is a 2007 D. Okay, so we've got a D here for the mint. And since it is a president, I can go ahead and put in George Washington. Okay, I'm just going to put GW. Okay. So I will do this for each of the coins, and then I will bring you back so we can see some interesting things we can do in Excel with that information. So I'll be back in a minute. Now, first of all, I know it's 100 coins for two reasons. One is that's the amount that I ordered from the bank, but you know they could have made a mistake. But I can also see that you know, my top row here is for my labels, and then if I scroll down to my bottom row here, it's at 101. So if we ignore the first row for the labels, that means we have 100 rows with data in it. Now, that's not the only way to count things. A lot of times I want to find out, well, how many of a specific type of entry do I have. In particular, I might want to know how many Susan B. Anthony coins were there. Okay, and so what I can do is I can use the COUNTIF function. So I'm going to type the equal sign, type in the word count, and then IF. Okay, when I open parentheses, it asks me for the range, so I'm going to select my range here. I can select it, or I can go ahead and type it in. I know the last row is 101, okay? And the criteria is, well, I want to know, does it say SBA? So I put that in quotes and press enter, and it says there were 20 that I wrote in there for SBA. We can do the same thing for each of the others. Okay, how many presidential coins were there? That's not how you spell president. Okay, I can essentially do the same thing. Notice that if I want to copy this, I didn't just click on the cell and then I'm going to do a copy. I actually highlighted what I have written in there. That's important because I'll show you what happens if we don't. If we go over here in our field and paste, okay, now I can just change that SBA to president. And so I had 34 of them. Okay, so what would have happened if I had just copied the cell? So I'm going to do that this time. Okay, so I haven't highlighted what's in the cell. I've just gone over to the cell, and then I'm going to do a copy. If I do a paste here, okay, it gives me a 0. And the reason why is when you move over to the next column and paste where you copied the entire cell, not the contents of it, but the cell itself, notice what it did is it changed the column in here. So now it's looking in the wrong column. So I don't want to do that. Instead, I still want it to be A as my column. And this time I'm going to have Sacagawea, so I can count those. And let's get that label in there. And I can double check that this makes sense. 20 and 34 is 54, 54 and 46 is 100. So that does cover all my coins. Okay. I can do the same thing for the years. Okay. If I can do the same thing as before, I can copy the contents, or I can actually say, let's do 1979. I think that was the earliest year in here. I can check that in a moment. I'll show you how. But first, let me note if I just do a copy, the entire cell, and then a paste, it moved over to the column for the year column. So that means I'm actually just going to change this one here, and I now counted the 1979 coins. So how could I have known that that was 1979, that the minimum was 1979 without already having known that, right? I'm the one that put the data in. I remember this stuff. Well, what I can do is I can use the minimum function, okay? So yeah, sure, I could scan through here and do that, but I could also just say, hey, wait a second. If I type equals min, open parentheses, again, I can either highlight it, okay, or I can actually just type in my field, close parentheses and hit enter, and sure enough, the lowest one was 1979. Now, for my labels here, I can just keep typing them in, or I could say, well, how about I do this? Equals, hit that previous cell, that's going to be important, and then +1. So the reason I wanted it to reference the cell and not just type in 1979 +1 is now if I copy and paste it, it has now moved the column over, right? Before it was I, now it's J. And so now it's adding 1 to the previous column for that one. This is why Excel does that. Okay, that's why when we wanted to just copy the contents, we had to highlight the contents in there and copy them, not copy the entire cell. Because if you're copying the entire cell, it thinks you want to do what I just did here. Okay. Now I happen to know that a lot of these values are going to be skipped. There weren't any other values between 1980 and 1999. But technically, if I hadn't been the one to put in the data, I might not know that. In this particular case, I probably would, because with dollar coins, they didn't make Susan B. Anthony's after 1981 until 1999 for 1 year, and then the Sacagawea coins didn't start till 2000, and then the presidential coins didn't start till 2007. So I could skip those if I already knew that about the data, but let's pretend I don't. This is easy. I can just go ahead and copy and paste as many times as I want. Okay. If I don't want it to take up much room, I can highlight these and then go over one of the dividers here and double click, and now it has shrunk them to fit. Okay. We can just keep doing this one by one, or we can copy a whole bunch, right? I can say, well, I want to go up to, well, let's actually see what the maximum is. Okay. So maximum for my years. Oops. Okay, 2019. Okay, so let's go back over here. So if I were to copy, say, 6 of them, that's going to get me to 2009, right? Okay, so what I could do is purposely copy just enough to get me to where I want to be. So in this case, 10. Okay, and now I will have all of the possible years from the minimum to the maximum. Now, like I said, a good number of these are going to have zeros in them. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So what I can do is I can basically just highlight and copy, or what I can do is I can also say, hey, I don't want you to change the column when I copy, so I can put a little $sign in front. Okay, and so if I do that, that $sign fixed that value. Now, unfortunately, I still need to do instead of 1980, I need instead of 1979, I need 1980. So I can go through and change these one by one if I want. There are other things we can do. For For example, I could use a transpose function or something like that. I don't want to cover too many things in this video, okay? So this is something I could do just continuing here. But let's not worry about that at the moment. I'm trying to show you different things we can do, okay? So another thing we could do is, what if I want a range of values? So what if I want to know how many are in the 1980s, let's say? Okay, so I'm going to type COUNTIF again. And now I want my range. Okay, so put in my range. And again, I could do this by typing it in or highlighting. Okay, and then I want to refer again to the contents. So I'm going to put my quotation mark here, and then I want it to be greater than 1979. That's not enough though. Okay, that's, oops, what happened? Oh, apparently I can't spell the word count. Okay. So that's just going to give me 83, which is all of them but 1979. I want greater than 1979, but not greater than 1989. Okay, I want it to be just up to 1989. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract, same start for here, B2 to B101, but I want to get rid of everything greater than 1989. And now that gives me everything between 1980, 1989, including 1980, including 1989. So notice that it's only two. There were two in 1980 and nothing else in between here. I'd already mentioned that was going to be the case. The last thing we'll talk about before we wrap this up is what if I didn't want to have to go through all this rigmarole to find out all these, say, years, and I just wanted to know, what was the most common year? Well, I can use the mode function. Okay, in statistics, the mode is the data value that appears the most. Now, I'm just going to use mode, but there are mode mult and mode single. Those are for situations where you might have more than one mode. In this case, I'm just going to find the one. So open the parentheses, okay? And like I said, I'm going to do this with years, mainly because that's where it's most useful. There's a lot of possible years. There aren't that many possibilities for the series and the mint and even the president, for those that matters. So again, I can either highlight it or I can type it out. Okay, and press enter, and we get 2000. Okay, so let's say I just wanted to know, well, what is the most commonly occurring year? 2000. How many of them? Well, then I could actually go and fill in this cell here like I did the others. So I can do my B2 to B101, and then I want to count the number of ones with 2000 in it. Press enter, and so there were 37. Okay, so 37 out of 100 coins, 37% were from 2000, and those were all Sacagaweas. And that's actually pretty typical if you get a bunch of coins. For example, I've done a few other sets of hundreds, and each time the year 2000 Sacagaweas has been the most frequent coin in the batch. So that's it for this video. Thank you very much. I hope this was useful.